Welcome to the No Bull Political Arena. With your hosts, Sophia Nelson, Bill O'Reilly, Brian Mistro, and TJ McCormick. It's real voices, raw politics, and no bullshit. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the No Bull Political Arena. This is Brian Mistro. I'm here tonight with Bill O'Reilly and TJ McCormick. And we've got quite a few things to jump into news-wise, so we're just going to get after it today. Just released this morning, U.S. employers announced a 108,435 layoffs for January, up 205% from December, making it the highest January total since 2009, which would be the financial crisis. We've been mentioning tariffs a lot on this show and what the effects or effects may or may not be. That's a big number. It's the hiring coming out of this, the actual hiring, not counting the layoffs, is the lowest it's been since COVID in 2020. What are we going to make of this? Is this where the economy is going? Of course, we've also got the sell-offs in AI. We've got a number of the other big companies that are taking it on the nose, including crypto. Is this where the economy is going? Is this part of tariffs? What do you think, Bill?
I don't know. It's the economics are too hard to handicap. Certainly, the country's not in a good place right now. I saw some numbers. Politico has a story tonight about numbers in suburban districts, about where economics and other things are starting to really weigh down on Republicans. This is where we are right now. But again, we say this almost every night. The world changes so fast now.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't know how it's going to turn out. But right now, we're in a spiral situation on the right, and we've got to write it, and we will, because the benefit is that the left isn't doing any better, and America's probably doing better economically than every other country in the world, pretty much. I mean, China's got its problems. Europe has major structural problems economically. It's relatively we're okay, but there's a lot of stuff coming down really fast, and it's affecting people.
Yeah, and we talked about last night on the farmers and how they were getting hammered, and that is directly related to the tariffs. But again, we've been saying, and economists have been saying, and this is, I'm not defending Trump, but I am a little bit.
God forbid.
Yeah, just a little bit. So
Hi, DJ.
all we heard was as soon as you drop tariffs, then within 60 days, okay, it was going to be layoffs and you're paying 50% more for your food. And of course, I'm being a little sarcastic here. That didn't happen. Okay. I mean, we did see bumps. Food's more expensive. I'm not saying we haven't seen the effects of it, but
Eggs are a lot cheaper. Yeah.
The end of the world stuff didn't happen.
Right.
Could this be some of it catching up to where all the economists that have been saying this, maybe this is where this was heading? What do you think, TJ?
I'm never. I cannot pretend to be anything more sophisticated on a few things than the street level fella watching this and watching this show and watching it on the news and reading it in their paper. As I try to keep up with the tariff news, I seem to, and I'm going to easily be corrected, but I kept hearing that the tariffs, so few of those crazy jacked up tariffs actually came to fruition. That they were caught in mid in mid flight. They were shot down. They were negotiated down. There was a lot of saber rattling when it came to the tariffs. The ones that have come home to roost, I don't know if they're in that sort of realm that would. I'm having a hard time connecting the dots because I'm a street level guy on this stuff.
You're a Main Street guy.
You just pay the taxes. You just pay the taxes.
I'm wondering what is the corollary between tariffs and hundreds of thousands of layoffs? As a street level guy, I'd be more inclined. If somebody tapped me on the shoulder and said, the latest report has in the last fiscal blah blah, about 100-something thousand, 10 whatever, a couple 100,000 layoffs. I'd look at that guy and go, Oh, is it the robots? Is it AI? Is it AI that are we finally starting to see an atrophy of actual jobs due to
Part of it.
artificial intelligence? I would think there is the dots to connect. And now you could easily, definitely, I could see a correlation between tariffs, certain amounts of industrial jobs and AI and all of that combining. What sectors were these layoffs in?
Yeah, it didn't say what the sector was, um, and it didn't specify that. It was just kind of a general number that was released, and we don't know some of the breakdown on it. And you made a good point, TJ, um, because we even talked about this last night, Bill. How much of this is or is not AI, right? We don't know.
I,
Uh,
I I think we do know that AI is beginning to creep into the market. That's what tanked the market yesterday more than the jobs numbers, at least according to the experts, Wall Street Journal, New York Times. What you're particularly seeing is a very slow rate of employment among top college graduates,
yeah.
high level college graduates, Ivy League graduates, that type of stuff. You're beginning to see that get affected where companies aren't sure. They don't want to make big investments if 6 months down the road they can replace it with a button. And you can't
And,
blame them.
and I'm going to give you a personal story about that because my youngest son is in college and he's loved comp sci, to be a comp sci major. I mean, he's finished all of his math, and I don't know if people know, but to get that degree, you're going through Cal 1 through Cal 4 through Q. You're taking a lot of high-end math. Aced it. And then the number one or the highest folks or kids coming out of school and not having a job, comp sci.
Yeah.
And that's why it's
Yep.
because of what's happening. I'm agreeing with all of you. I think we're all
Yeah.
agreeing here.
That's the sector getting killed. And
Yeah,
we've got to remember things happen beyond Donald Trump. Like history is moving
I'm
along,
still
it's
gonna
marching.
blame him for every damn thing. We've already talked about this. This is
But when he's gone,
guaranteed.
it's going to be so dull. I mean, there are things happening, like giant forces happening, historic forces, like the AI thing, the technology in general. Look how, you know, back in the 1980s. I don't know if either of you remember this. There was a movie called, it was Kianarskuro, or something like that. It was an American Indian name,
Oh,
and it
it
was
was you and I have talked about this. It was
Kier, whatever it is. Yeah,
Karakwazai, something like that. And
something very similar.
it's
Life out of
music.
balance. Life out of
It's
balance. Right.
Life Out of Balance is the name. It's a Native American concept.
I think it came out in '85, and it was all like quick cuts of taxis going at speed and airplanes and this and that. And the whole argument
Right.
was that nature
with
was
a,
out of
with a with
balance.
a with a really compelling musical
Yeah.
accompaniment to it, a score that helped to illustrate. Well, go ahead, Billy. Sorry.
No, no, exactly. It was very, very compelling music behind it. And what they were saying was that the world was moving too fast and it had to stop. That was 1985. That was before cell phones. I mean, ubiquitous cell phones. That was before any of this. Like
God, I
we
wasn't
were
even born yet.
right. We were marching along. Is that right? We were marching along.
It really it is I look again I quote the former as a late night talk show host myself, syndicated nationally.
Double
I
plug.
On Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick.
WABC Radio.
I thank you very much. I often quote the greatest to ever do what I do is a guy named Art Bell, and Art Bell hosted the seminal program Coast to Coast AM, and he wrote a book called The Quickening, and it was and I have happily plagiarized that term because there's nothing else to call it. But his thing was quickening was it was had everything. It was sort of an all-encompassing concept of the earth and earth cycles and solar cycles and this and that, as well as information, because again he wrote that book prior to a lot of what we have today. Anyway, my big thing on it is incoming information, and Bill and I have talked about this over cigars. We are not wired, our brains are not wired to have this constant income. Us as seasoned adults, humans, let alone our kids who are doom scrolling on their phones. It's just too much. Let me bring it back to what we're talking about here. Um, I saw and I heard a piece this morning on the BBC, the Today Show, their breakfast radio program, where they're talking now about once again what they call universal income or universal credit
Mhm.
over there. It's another approach to the dole, which is our welfare, and they're now bringing it back up again. And we know as guys that do what we do, when something comes back into a news cycle, either recycled or with a brand new name or a brand new con. In this case, they're floating it again. The government is floating it again. And again, it's a concept of not people being on welfare, everybody receiving an income.
Yeah, guaranteed minimum income. It was a Thomas Paine thing.
Guaranteed, right? Guaranteed minimum income. And they're floating it again in the UK. And they're attaching it to this idea that there's going to be such an atrophy of jobs because of AI, and there's going to be so much wealth generated potentially.
And the group that kicked that off, I met with them in Iceland years ago in Reykjavik. It was the Pirate Party. There's actually a party. They were the number two party in Iceland for a while.
The
And I
Pirate
met a
Party.
the Pirate Party. I met a beautiful young MP from the Pirate Party. They're very left wing, very radical. Not my politics, but she was certainly interesting. And they were
I
leading with
bet.
a lot of old Thomas Paine concepts. And guaranteed minimum income was one of the first ones. I mean,
Hmm.
Paine was a real radical. He left here, went to France, and he was one of those. The revolution never stops, like Mao. And anyway, they picked up some of his stuff. But Brian, can we get back for a second? You talked about what will happen at the end of the year. I'm beginning to get an impression of President Trump back that I had in the 1980s. And I think I know what he's up to. This is my guess. I've been wrong 1,000 times. May as well be 1,001. But this feels right. There was a lot of talk about Trump running for president in 1988 instead of Bush. It started in 86 and 87. He was already well known in New York, but he got really well known internationally for fixing something that was called Woolman Rink. It was an ice skating rink at 110th Street, north end of Central Park. It's in Harlem. And the city for years was trying to get its act together to build a friggin' ice skating rink, and they couldn't do it. And
Hmm.
Trump came in and said, "Watch this." And he went in and did it his own way, and he built the ice skating rink in like 30 days. This beautiful rink that's still there. And that's where he got all this momentum. Trump, in those days, his MO was, let me do it. I'll fix it. I'll get it done.
Hmm.
You guys talk, you do this, I get things done. I think that's what he's doing with his presidency. And I think he's trying to get everything in before the midterms, because after the midterms, he could very well be a very much of a lame duck with a Congress
Almost
that could be
certainly will be.
Democrat.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at Cuba, I'm looking at Iran, I think he's taking all these intractable problems that the U.S. has faced for generations. Drugs. Look at drug interdiction. The war on drugs was always a joke. He starts hitting boats, starts doing stuff, whether you like it or not. I think that's what he's doing. I think he's going down the list. I think he's going to try and get Cuba. I think he's going to try and knock Iran out all before the midterms. And
Hmm.
if he pulls some of this stuff off, you have no idea where the polls go.
Yeah.
That's just how I see it. That's how I see it.
Yeah, you know where I've been sitting on on the realistic side. I think the House is gone. I think the Senate's in play.
Well, what do you think about
Um,
what Bill just said, though?
um, uh, Mixed. I think
Mixed in
that
terms of could you find yourself? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry. Sorry. I just stopped everything in its tracks. Go, baby, go.
no.
I was just going to say PJ's always closing, and then you backed off.
Well, I think that I think he goes for a lot of quick kills. But I
Yep,
also think that his reasoning for doing a lot of this stuff is for Trump more than it's anybody else in the country. A good example is the reporting today out of Puck News. Puck News is reporting that Donald Trump was trying to cut a deal with Schumer, in which Schumer allows him to rename Dulles Airport Trump Airport and rename Penn Station Trump Station, and in return he'd let Schumer drop or release some funding or something. I
Okay.
mean,
Okay. If we're talking
no,
about actually making a real dent in drug transportation, if
no,
we're
that's not
talking
what you're
about
talking
actually,
about.
that's
No,
what
no,
Bill just
you
talked.
didn't let me finish. What my
Okay.
point was that my point
Uh,
is that he's doing it for Trump. There's always an agenda with him, and then the agenda always circles back to something for Trump. He always gets something out of it. Okay,
agreed.
and
I
and
agree. I
so
agree, Brian. I think both things are true.
And
I
they
think he's
can
trying to
be,
fix
and
it
they can be.
and at the same time, Eric and Donald Jr. and the rest of them are making a bloody fortune
Insane.
off their father. There's no question about it. I hate it. It's wrong. When Hunter Biden did it, it was wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. But at
Yeah.
the same time, I think he is trying to fix a lot of things that have been talked about forever and not done.
And I think that a lot of that can be attributed to Rubio. I think
Maybe.
I think Rubio has been pushing for some of that stuff.
Very perceptive. I concur.
In Venezuela, certainly. Yep. And Cuba.
And
And
Cuba.
as much as I detest so many people in his administration, Tom Homan, of all people, he's not that bad. Okay.
Witkoff too is good,
Yeah.
Worked for everybody else.
Well,
No,
I'm not a
Obama
fan.
didn't have a problem for him.
I'm not a fan of Witkoff's, but I think he's got certainly Rubio's. I think has done a spectacular job because and all the stuff that the three of us agree he's done a miraculous job on, like the Middle East. I have and Venezuela. I have no doubt that Rubio had his finger and thumb on that the whole time. So I want to move on to something that's is happening right now and continue our. I guess it's been about a week and a half conversation, although this is now it's getting down to the numbers.
Are you guys going to yell at each other again?
No, actually, I don't think we're going to this time.
I'm too tired.
Good. Okay, good.
So the Democrats released their quote demands last night in order for them not to filibuster the DHS appropriations bill that's sitting in the Senate right now. Again, really quickly for our audience. All the other appropriation bills have been passed. The CR its continuing resolution is sitting in the Senate right now for the Department of Homeland Security. That's it. ICE is not the only part of Department of Homeland Security. It's Coast Guard, it's Secret Service, it's FEMA. And ICE already has its funding out of the big, beautiful bill. So I just need to level set that so that everybody hears this when we're talking about it. Let me read out some of the demands, and let's get your take on it, guys. Targeted enforcement.
What does that mean?
So this is they cannot enter private property without a warrant, and that they cannot in any way hold or take into custody U.S. citizens without a warrant.
Fair enough. Constitution.
No masks, require ID, protect sensitive locations. That's what I want to come back to because one of those sensitive locations is polling places. Stop racial profiling, uphold use of force standards, ensure state and local coordination and oversight. That's another one I want to come back to because that is something that TJ and I have gone around on a couple of times. Build safeguards into the system. I don't even know what all that means. Body cameras, but not for tracking.
The list is getting longer.
Well, there's only 10 of them, and it's no paramilitary force. And we've got this up here for our audience to watch.
What does that mean? No paramilitary force. Guns? Uniforms?
It says, and I'm reading from their cheat sheet, okay, from the Dems cheat sheet, but it's regulate and standardize the type of uniforms, equipment that they can carry and enforcement operations to bring them in line with civil enforcement. In other words, make them look like a police officer. Yeah, so some of these I think they're crazy for not doing, like body cameras, not just to protect the citizen, but to protect themselves.
Well, warrants for citizens is a pretty good idea.
Yeah, you would think so.
We can agree on that. And they should carry ID saying they're with the federal, that's just standard. That's stuff that should happen anyway.
So stop racial profiling. Can I just I'm going to sound like the old I'm going to sound like the old Reagan Republican for a second again. How the hell are you going to do that? How are you going to verify that? So
you also because of where the crimes are occurring, and it's like it's not even worth discussing. It's been
why it's in there. It's why it's in there. It's what makes these demands disingenuous.
Right. And listen, the progressives watching this are going to get progressives watching this are going to go racist. No, I'm not being racist. I'm being honest. I don't look at the person and they're brown or they got black skin. You're thinking and they speak. They speak Spanish. this is
Who
just
cares?
reality of what's
Yeah.
going to happen, and I don't know how you can prove otherwise. I
And
really
this
don't.
entire subject is not based on race, but
It's
nationality.
not.
Okay?
It's not at all.
But listen to what TJ just said, because when you read the list of their demands last
Yeah,
night or the night before, with
yeah,
they were fewer
yeah.
and they were simpler. They add to them until the Republicans can't stomach it, and that's what
Until
both that's what both
because
sides do.
Until
once
shit starts breaking.
Both sides
once
do
they
it.
start adding things that like that and other things that are, like for example, it is sometimes the reason these guys protect these men and women protect their identity is because they're dealing with drug cartels, with gangs. They get a fix on this guy's face, they think nothing of blowing up his family's home. So they know damn well that not all of these people can go about their business unmasked. You also are not hearing anything about, as Bill always points out, unmasking protesters. And so those things are in there to thereby make all of that due diligence totally pointless, completely disingenuous, intellectually dishonest. They know that they're putting those road mines, those landmines in there that are going to just blow this up.
Yep.
Okay,
Because they
so
because they don't want to actually fix this, because they don't care about the black and brown people. They don't actually care. They don't care. They don't care about those two citizens who died. They don't care. They're still benefiting from those two deaths. They're still benefiting from those two deaths. When was the last time we talked about the Somali? Billions of dollars.
well, okay, so let me circle back to a counterpoint. Uh, DEA, when they make raids, don't wear masks, and they deal in this all day long. That's all they do. ATF doesn't wear masks.
Are you sure
Why?
about that?
Yeah, shit. I was in Waco during the
The
when they burnt down the
Yeah, so
I
was
was
I.
there. That
Oh
shit
my
was in the
God.
backup.
You
I was
were?
at Baylor.
I
Yeah.
was. I was there. I was in the church. I was a Branch Davidian.
Yeah.
Were you doing
I'll believe that one. Yeah. Anyway, so no, they don't. They don't. Let's go back to one that I do highly agree with. And this is going to be controversial, maybe or maybe not. Um, Protect sensitive locations, schools, child care facilities, churches, polling places, and courts. I have absolutely no problem with that at all. Polling places, especially, and I'm not alone. Even Tillis came out today and he said they don't need to be there. He said because it's not going to be, he said even American citizens, it will dissuade them from voting. It'll have a quote chilling effect, according to Tillis. And he's not alone in saying that of the Republicans.
Well, here's
What
the
do you
thing on
think?
voting, Brian, is both sides have been lying for voting for years. The Democrats started this about 20 years ago, where suddenly nobody was able to vote in America because it was just too hard for people, that their voters, was just too tough. We needed 5 days, we needed 2 weeks, we need universal absentee ballots, we need everything. It's all racist. The whole thing. The election system has worked fine in this country, and then the Republicans fell into it with Trump in 20. Oh my God, it's hooked. It's this. All the machines are wired. That kind of stuff. Elections work in this country. I've worked elections. I've seen fraud. I've caught fraud. I've been a fraud watcher back in the Giuliani days in New York. It's like you get a vote here, a vote there, not like they're talking. And now both sides have convinced the entire country that our elections are suspect, and it's completely deflated the soul of America. And we're all like that. And it's manufactured on both sides. Sorry,
Hmm,
that's the reality. That's the
hmm.
truth of it. Elections work in the US. They always have, and anybody can get to a polling place if they want to exercise their right. Period.
Yeah,
Well,
and
well,
go ahead, Brian.
I was just going to say we do mail-in voting. It works absolutely fucking fantabulous here.
Always has,
Um,
right? You got to
it's
sign it. You got to have your address on it. They
Yeah, you do.
postmark it,
You've got to
date it.
sign it, and I'll tell you too, because I've heard this from a lot of folks. Well, if you mail in, this could be easily fraud. Actually, not. When you put your signature on there, they match it with your signature on file. My son had his sent back a few years ago, and he had to go cure it and talk to them and say, "No, that is my signature," because they weren't going to take his ballot because it didn't match up close enough to their checks. So it does work. The system does work. The issue is going to be putting in mail ballots for states that are new to this because it takes a while to put in all the systems to make that work.
I think the wrinkle in what in or the caveat or the flag that we got to throw on what Bill just said though was 2020. And I'm not saying Trump won. I'm not saying that. But there were so many voting laws and voting regulations that were fast tracked with executive orders by writ, governors throughout the country here in New York, not the legislative process.
They out
That
hustled us. They out
and
hustled us.
they absolutely out hustled us, but without a doubt, though, without a doubt,
Hmm.
2020 during COVID, if they were ever going to get cute, that's when they had their opportunity. Nobody was answering doors. Nobody was coming out. I just, again, there is some real crazy red flags that happened all over the place.
Yeah.
But, oh, and also what makes the Democrats worse on this, once again, they're always worse. What makes the left worse on this is when we talk about voter ID, once again, they hang the placard of actual racist around their own neck. I'm going to avoid those references. But they put on a pin that identifies them as the proper racist. Democrats are the real racists in this country, because every time you talk about voter ID, they start going down this offensive path that
Totally.
not everybody has ID. Black people don't have ID. Black people can't go and get the ID, but and it forces idiots like me to sit here and go through the litany of other things you have to do in America with an ID.
To wake up in
Uh,
the morning. Just
so
Well,
they can
well,
kiss my ass, and Democrats are absolutely 100%. They tilt the scales when it comes to this part of the conversation.
so
They're
I'm
worse.
I'm going to actually support you a little bit. God
Mhm.
Almighty, that's twice in one day, Bill. It's
yeah, it's
twice
getting
in one
We're
day.
not
it's getting
as at odds, Brian. You're making a caricature of our relationship. Go on.
So they did polling. I think it was Pew polling, and I'll show it and put it up here. This just came out, I think, a couple of days ago. And I might be
Mm.
wrong, might be 3 days ago. But anyways, that last several days that showed that ID and voting is very popular, and not just with Republicans and independents,
Right.
but with
It's
Democrats.
almost
Yes.
it's not quite an 80-20, but it's in that neighborhood, theoretically, I
right.
think.
It's interesting. That's changed a little bit. After 9/11, I worked with the group that was pushing for real IDs, and we won. And we spent 3 years working on it in Congress. And the idea was that the terrorists had 40 some odd licenses between them. Mohammed Atta had 19 himself, because a license is it's a passport to anything in the country. You could buy guns with a license, you can wire money, you can travel, you can rent hotels, you can do anything.
Hmm.
It's
Mm.
the only form of ID in America that we have, and you're only as strong as your weakest link state. You
Boom.
get a
Hmm.
license in New Mexico with crappy laws. You can go to New York with it. You get in the federal building with it. Boom. You know what I mean? You can enter the White House. You can do all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So we established minimum standards for that, for what licenses should be. But we went up a lot of pushback on the right, especially the libertarian right, for an ID, no national ID, no national ID.
Libertarians.
Nobody wants libertarians. Nobody wants a national ID, but they do have government driver's licenses and government IDs, and it's kind of, most countries do have a government ID. Americans have always been against it, so that's in play there a little bit too. But you would think it would make sense to show an ID when you're going to vote. You would think.
So
For
let
the
me
one
ask.
thing,
So let me ask you a question because I think we all three agree on the ID aspect of it, but we may not agree on this. If you're going to require an ID to vote, should the government also be required to provide you an ID for free so you can vote?
not necessarily. I think I don't know. It's a good question.
That could go into a
Maybe,
constitutional question.
maybe Brian. Maybe Brian. Yeah, I'd like to hear what Sophia has to say
Sophia,
about that.
yeah.
As
Means
write-up,
testing.
like,
Means
well, yeah,
testing for a friggin' ID. Jesus
an
Christ.
idea. But
Well,
you can bring you bring a utility bill. You bring something. I mean, just to
Right. I
say,
mean, something again. It's but again, too. Everybody has a friggin' ID. The rare exceptions are the people who live in Manhattan. People live in Manhattan. Not even cities. People live in Chicago Drive. People live in Houston Drive. The only freaks on the far spectrum of not driving are the ones who live in Manhattan and maybe a few in Queens. Every in Queens has drive. So people have the ideas. I think that's the God particle of this entire conversation. They have it, and the handful. Let the government pay for it. I don't give a shit. Let the government pay because they're going to be paying for like 300 people who don't have friggin' IDs so they can vote. And this voter apathy anyway. This will be a very good way to get a real good idea of how many people live here and aren't voting in the first place.
but the fundamental point is there's not massive fraud in vote in this country. Sure,
No, there's not.
people
There's
do
not.
stuff. They
And
mail in the ballot for their mother who's asleep or who's in a coma, and you mail it in. in. That's not legal to
And
do.
that's
That's not
why I get
legal.
so
But
fucking mad about this stuff
individual
going
ones.
on in Atlanta. I mean, why are we
Mm.
doing this shit in Atlanta again?
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
That's
yeah. And
all
national
right.
elections, ridiculous. No
It's
way.
just
No way.
fucking ridiculous. All
No
right,
way.
sorry. I dropped the F bomb. I rarely ever do that.
Ah, it's authentic.
I want to talk about somebody in your area, neck of the woods, and a proposal that is made by the name of Mike Lawler. Okay, Congressman Mike Lawler,
Hmm.
and he has a proposition, a proposed new legal status and a proposed new law to address the legal status of illegal immigrants. I'd like to read just a couple of the highlights here and get your take and kind of fill in the audience on what this is all about. It's called the Dignity Act, and it would grant legal status to parts of the illegal population that meet certain criteria. Uh, Number one, not having committed a crime in the United States or their country of origin. Okay. Number two, they cannot collect any government benefits, period. Number three, they must pay back all taxes and a fine for coming into the United States illegally. If this criteria is not met, it's grounds for deportation. What do you think?
Breaking the law,
Or
I'd make it.
better,
I I'd make it a felony first of all for a law because we all
yeah,
break laws every
felony,
single day.
100%,
Every single
100%.
day we break laws, all of us. You don't
Yeah,
even know, but you do. Yeah.
felony. I matter of fact, I was almost going to say, is it crime or felony? I was almost going to ask you, Brian, if they actually
Yeah,
used the word
he
felony.
said crime, but define
Okay,
crime.
so
Yeah,
right
define
there.
what's a crime. Because
Um,
technically, they had a crime when they crossed the border illegally. That's a
Yeah, and
crime.
or speeding when they got there. You know, and get in the
right.
car.
Yeah, I think that. But also, I would rather say, rather than, if all of these are not met, it's grounds for deportation. How about, I'm surprised Mike didn't couch it this way. If all of these things are met, welcome to the country.
Yeah,
Path,
and
path to citizenship.
in full disclosure, TJ is a very dear friend of Mike's. I was a spokesman on his first congressional campaign. We're very close. We talk all the time. TJ as well. So
Hmm.
we'll have Mike on the show to talk for himself. But
Yeah.
I got to say, for him, we'll give him a plug while we're talking about Congressman Lawler. He is relentlessly a common sense guy.
Yep.
He is. He was always wise beyond his youth. Even in his
Yep.
young 20s, we were working with him. I met him when he was
Hmm.
about 21. He was
Yeah.
the guy at the table who would stay quiet, and then after everybody went nuts, he'd put up his hand and he'd be the calm voice. He's
Yeah.
got that talent. He really does. And he's doing it again in Congress. He's got
Hmm.
9 Democrats running against him like banshees. Like I
Yeah.
can't turn on a YouTube video or TV without Mike Lawler killed my mom. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
all this kind of stuff like that. He is.
Hmm.
Mike could be a pain. He's tough to work for, but he's a
Yeah.
solid guy and he's got really good judgment. And
Yep.
so I love what he's talking about here. And for those who say, well, we're just rewarding it, get rid of everybody, you can't do it. That's what,
No.
Yeah.
Trump
No.
was trying to get rid of a few more than they wanted, and look at what's happening.
Well,
The
Trump or
country's
Miller. I mean, I would say
or
Miller,
Miller,
but yeah.
whatever, yeah, or Miller, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I agree. What do you think, TJ? How do
Mike
you feel
is
about the
Mike is
Dignity Act?
Mike is intellectually honest, which is my ultimate litmus test. He says what he means. He means what he says. Sometimes he's mean when he says it, and that's fine. But that's Mike. Mike. He does an eye roll, and you can hear it. Mike is like the one human being I know who makes an audible eye roll. And I'd say that if the congressman was here,
I'm
he
sitting in
is
this,
do it.
of course.
Like he needs me. I no, I honestly, I've seen him do. He's one of those guys holds the town hall, and the banshees show up, and again, we're different people. Liberals and conservatives are different people. I know
I would say
J6 happened.
progressives and
I
conservatives, but it's
Yeah,
J6 happened, and J6 is still an insane, crazy moment in American history. Every single day, progressives, liberals, far leftists, they are vile. And I was there in a Catholic school auditorium that they were able to acquire for a Mike Lawler town hall. And that son of a gun came out and just took it and took it and took it. I don't know how. I don't know how. I don't know how. More than humanly.
Just like me on this show every day.
he
watch some of those clips. You're right, TJ. I watched it 3 times.
I
would have started screaming.
They all took offense when the principal of the school, a priest, came out to welcome everybody. They took umbrage. They were the gasps. No, the gasps. It was as if a friggin' guy in a Hitler costume walked out. Friggin' priest comes out. So they're disgusting, and Mike rolls with it. And because I think he definitely, here's the thing, and I'll shut up. I think because he definitely takes the job very seriously. He believes that he's there making the right intellectual choice, the fair choice that is best for everyone in his district. And I think he knows that that includes these hateful, vile people who screech at him. He knows that he serves them too. And he's done a lot for people and for all those people. He holding out for SALT reductions to maximize the write-off for the tax benefits from owning a home. Jesus Christ, we have been dying here for years now, and he hung tough to get
against his own president,
against Donald Trump,
against his own leader.
Yeah. No, and he's funny.
He used every bit of leverage he had. He used every bit of leverage he had. He used for that.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how the election turns out, because I'm not up on all the Republicans that could potentially lose their seat, but in following what he's doing, and you guys know the district better than I do, I got to tell you, that's going to be a tough flip for Dems. I know it's a blue district. Okay, I mean, what is it? What Harris win there? Did she win +7 or something? I don't.
Oh, I thought she won in the teens, right? 14%, 20%. I mean,
it's more than 2-1 Democrat. It's about 2.5, isn't it, TJ?
Yeah. Oh, easily 2.5, almost. In some towns, 3-1.
I just think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a tough flip. But we'll see. This is going to be a crazy election this year.
I remember Mike won that seat by beating the head of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, whose job it is to elect members of Congress. Had all the money in the world, spent $70 million against Mike, who was pretty much an unknown at the time, and Mike pulled it out.
Mike did that as a
Mike
did that coming out of the New York. He came out of the New York State Assembly in a super minority. Yeah, and he pulled that off.
If you ever want to disappear, just join the Republican.
I didn't know that. I didn't know
Assembly.
That.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. We're out of time here. Real quickly, Bill, any last thoughts?
No, just let's all keep talking. I think the whole country needs to keep talking, and we need to keep looking for solutions and ways we can work together. And that doesn't mean selling out our side of the issue, but we inherited this together, this land, all this opportunity. We need to do something with it together.
No, cool sorry, down. We stole it. We stole the land. Just ask Billie Eilish.
We inherited it. They stole it.
TJ, any last thoughts, dear friend?
Billie Eilish can kiss my ass.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. We will be back at it tomorrow. We have got some amazing guests coming, some of which we hope to announce very soon. Please make sure to subscribe to our channel. It is free. Go to YouTube, and it's at No Bull Media Group, just like you see right there at No Bull Media Group. Like and comment on our stuff. We read those. Okay. Just let us know. And if there's something you want to see or you've got a question, throw it up. People have asked it in the past and we put it on the show. So thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. And we will see you once again tomorrow night.
Good night, everyone.
The No Bull Political Arena is on all major social media platforms. Make sure to give us and your host a follow.
Hey everybody, this is Sophia Nelson. Follow me at I am Sophia Nelson on every one of my social media platforms.
I'm Bill O'Reilly, and you can reach me at Twitter at WFBOR.
Hey, this is TJ. Follow me on X or Twitter at TJ McCormack.
This is Brian Mistro, and you can follow me on X at Brian_Mistro or follow along on Facebook at Brian.Mistro.
A No Bull Media Group member.